It has just gone 2 p.m. Central African time. This is the very first edition of Market View this week. It is an honor, and I'm very thankful to host you on this first edition of Market View this week. Welcome to it. This is your essential source for in-depth financial and economic updates. And today, we're diving into key developments shaping our agricultural landscape. Principal Secretary Eswatini Simelane has announced that permits for Master 900 will now be issued at 17 rural development areas nationwide, which is a pivotal move, really, in its regulation. Nelson Ndlangamandla, our capable business journalist, ventilated this issue with the PS himself on a sit-down interview that we will enjoy on the show today. And later, economist Sanele Sibia will provide expert commentary on today's market indices, helping you to navigate, really, the latest financial trends. You don't want to miss that, so stay tuned to Market View for the insights that matter most for your financial decisions. Let's kickstart the show by looking at business news. In our first story, youth unemployment contributes to the slow growth of small and medium enterprises in the country. This was an observation by business expert Zizwe Vilane when sharing his sentiments on how much youth unemployment contributes to the unimpressive growth of small and medium enterprises, as well as the startup businesses in the country.
Seeing that unemployment continues to grow, the government is mobilizing a lot of resources into entrepreneurship and skills development, with the Center for Financial Inclusion saying chances are slim for local micro and small businesses to grow into medium enterprises. We have engaged business expert Zizwe Vilane on whether the youth unemployment rate has any bearing to the slow growth of micro-small businesses.
A lot of the businesses that could be coming up in the country, considering that 70% of our population is youth, should be youth-led. That is where the challenge is. And I think the ecosystem that we exist in does not provide much support for youth-led enterprises. But the truth is, considering the population size and the majority of young people in our economy, they should be leading on the MSME space. And they are the ones who are faced with high unemployment. So as we move forward, we talk of self-employment rather than young people going to school to go and seek for job opportunities out there. And that is where I think the problem is. I don't know if we can point it to our education system that still produces young people that want to go and work for somebody else instead of training young people that will create jobs. But I think youth do contribute to the MSME issue, in the sense that they should be the ones at the forefront of driving SMMEs and SMME growth in the country.
He has also made suggestions on what can be done.
There's two ways. One, let's look at a young person as a resource who can be sent to any SMME company. You have an SME company that's lacking on IT, lacking on digitization, lacking on social media, and there's young people with all those skills that could be seconded or, placed in SMME companies to provide support, whilst in the same process they're being mentored for growth. On the second aspect, you look at young people and you're saying, how can we as a country leverage the demographic dividend, as they like to say? So we've seen in other countries what they call incubation centers, accelerators, and such other platforms, where there's deliberate move by government and other actors to bring young people into a systematic process where, one, we deal with labor mindset change to make them positive towards life, towards their country, etc. Then the second element becomes empowering them with the skills necessary for them to survive and compete in today's world. Skulmang about fourth industrial revolution, and we need to be pushing, like our Minister of ICT likes to say, labo STEM, to try and make sure that our young people have an opportunity. But primarily, kulukhuni survivor in business without funds. I will put it differently. You look at countries like Korea recently, they mentioned that they're providing billions of funds to investors coming to Africa. And this is money given to Koreans to come to Africa to compete with Africans who do not have anything in their hand. So we need government to provide development finance We need government to provide mentorship and training programs such that institutions like SADCO provide services to MSMEs free of cost, because this is a startup, and the minute you expect that startup to pay for services, then you're killing it.
According to the World Bank, unemployment rate in the country is high and rising, having increased from 23% in 2016 to 33.3% in 2021, the highest rate in over a decade. It is even higher among young people, with those between 15 and 24 years facing unemployment rate of 59.1% in 2021. For Market View, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
And from the international front, Burberry is poised to be removed from the FTSE 100 after a 50% drop in share price, reflecting challenges in the luxury market. Now, the brand may move to the FTSE 250, with insurer Hiscox likely to replace it. The final index changes will be announced on September the 4th.
British luxury brand Burberry is said to be removed from the FTSE 100 due to a significant decline in its share price, which has dropped by 50% this year. The company, now valued at £2.5 billion over 58 billion Amalangeni, is expected to move to the FTSE 250, with insurer Hiscox likely taking its place. Despite efforts to reduce reliance on China, Germany's direct investments in Asian powerhouse continue to grow, particularly in key industries like automotive and chemicals. German foreign direct investment (FDI) in China is on track to double this year, reflecting the deep economic ties between the two nations. While Germany's government acknowledges the need for de-risking from China, the realities of the global market and competition make a full-scale decoupling unlikely. As geopolitical tensions rise, German companies face the challenge of balancing their dependence on China's vast market with the need to diversify and innovate in response to growing competition from Chinese firms. Reporting international news, Spirosami Gininza, sourced from DW, VOA, and France 24.
7 minutes after 2. Thank you for staying with us on the program. We go for a net break. When we return, our astute business journalist Nelson Langamandla engaged on a thorough discussion with Principal Secretary Eswatini Simelane on the issues around Master 900.
Eswatini TV will be at the International Trade Fair 2024, bringing you exciting opportunities to connect with a wider audience and boost your brand visibility. ESTVA is offering incredible specials that include 5-minute on-location interviews, engaging viewers directly, spot advertisements, 30 seconds congratulatory messages, and much more. Do not miss out on this chance to increase brand awareness, generate lead and sales. Our details are displayed on the screen.
And our Enterprise Watch, this very, very interesting segment. Our perceptive business journalist Nelson Langamandla spoke to Principal Secretary from the Ministry of Agriculture, Eswatini Simelane, on the permit for Master 900 that will only be offered at the 17 rural development areas around the country. This was said, of course, by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Eswatini Simelane, when giving an update on the regulation of Master 900, which is already in motion.
Welcome to the show, Piers. The last time we spoke, you said you were going to a meeting where you were going to discuss the logistics of the regulation of Master 900. What was the decision of that meeting?
Thank you for the opportunity for us to be able to give you an update on what we are doing with reference to the Master 900. Basically, there are two issues that we are trying to address. The first one is that it should not be easily accessible. So that means we should make sure that the outlets where it is available, there are some controls that we are doing. So what we've agreed upon and what we have implemented already is that if you want to buy the Master 900, you must go and ask for a permit from the rural development areas, the RDAs. There's 17 of them throughout the country. We are aware that it could be an inconvenience to the farmers, because some communities are far from the RDAs. But this is what we really have to do just to protect some people who may want to abuse the chemical. The other point that we want or we are working on is, of course, to try and change the way Master 900 looks and the way it smells. We want to make sure that it has some kind of a pungent smell that will be a deterrent to people who may want to abuse it. If you remember, the Weevil tablet had a very, very terrible smell, and it was very sharp. You could smell it from a distance. We want to do something similar to that. Although our plan is that when it comes back, it is no longer as poisonous as it was, because we want to make sure that if somebody for some reason decides to ingest it or swallow it, then it should hopefully not be in a position to kill them. So we are trying to work on that. We know it is going to be a very difficult process, because the reason we introduced the Master 900 in the first place, it was because we were trying to get rid of the fall armyworm, which was devastating maize fields in the country. So it was basically our last resort, and it worked very well when we got it. So now, because we have to change it and get it into a different form, which will be some kind of deterrent from people using it to commit suicide, that means spending more time in the laboratories and engaging the manufacturers of these chemicals, just to make sure that we are working hand in hand.
You are saying there are 17 RDAs, PS. According to the World Bank, we have 70% of our population depending on farming, and some of them use this chemical. We also have commercial farmers. How are the 17 RDAs going to service such a large population of farmers?
True. This is a dilemma for us. We have to balance things. We have to make sure that the farmers have enough pesticides. We have to make sure that the farmers have effective pesticides. But at the same time, there has been a lot of complaints around the availability of the Master 900. Even Parliament has mentioned this a number of times, that we need to do something about it. So that is why I'm just saying we have a dilemma, because we have to meet the needs of both communities that we are dealing with here. At first, it will be a difficult arrangement, but we are hoping that as time goes on, its significance will actually go down, and people will hopefully not think about it in terms of committing suicide. The reason people are using it to commit suicide is because it was publicized and it became very, very popular. I think the less we talk about it and we look at alternatives, people will then forget about it, and we will stop it from being as effective as it is now. Of course, that creates a problem in the sense that we will need to find a substitute that will be able to kill the fall armyworm. So it's a challenge that we're really facing. But as a ministry, we're having discussions with the distributors, manufacturers, and the ministry. We want to come up with the best solution in this. And we're also engaging the Minister of Health, because these issues cannot necessarily be solved by the Minister of Agriculture alone. There has to be interactions between these various ministries that are responsible for social activities of people.
Mm-hmm. The benefits, PS, of regulating Master 900 far outweigh any other challenge that may be faced by farmers, because here you are protecting lives. But how will you balance ensuring that these farmers get assistance swiftly at the RDA, so that the country will reach its goal of food security?
what we are looking for now is solutions to the alternative, because maybe stopping people or stopping the production of Master 900 definitely needs a substitute. So we need to work out on that. SNOW is also a very important stakeholder in our case. We really need to make sure that they have a say, they have an input in this. But the interests are definitely conflicting, I must say. The public has a feeling that this is a dangerous chemical we must get rid of, but the farmers, clearly, you will know they've struggled in the past trying to fight this fall armyworm, and when the solution comes in the form of Master 900, then the people or the citizens of the country, some of the citizens insist that this is not the right solution. So what we need to do now as the ministry is to provide a solution that will satisfy the needs of the farmers as well as the public. That is our biggest responsibility at the moment.
Most of the time, PS government departments complain of being understaffed. How will you monitor that the regulation is being implemented as directed by the ministry?
There's a number of ways in which we can monitor this. The ministry itself has extension officers in these RDAs. So the RDAs know exactly where these outlets are. So they will do regular visits to make sure that this is being implemented the way we want it. At the same time, we also have our parastatals such as the NMC, National Maize Corporation. These distributors have other contracts with NMC to supply these special chemicals that they want to use, especially the pesticides, as well as, for instance, for the input subsidy program. It is the same suppliers that will be providing NMC with these inputs. So there will also be a way of checking if the suppliers are complying with our requirements, that everybody wants to come and buy Master 900 must have a permit from the RDAs. Remember, these are businesses, so it is very likely that they will want to maximize their profits. And if they realize that people want the Master 900 and they are always being referred to the RDAs, possibly what you are saying is likely to happen. However, every country has its own laws and regulations. If people don't want to follow the laws of the country, then the law should take its course. Although, honestly speaking, we are hoping that we won't be able to get to that stage, because it's not necessary. What we would prefer is that they make sure that everybody has a permit, and once that person has a permit, then they can provide this pesticide to that individual or a company, if I may say. But it's a big challenge. It's not a simple solution. People will find ways of getting this. Some ways may be illegal, but what we want to say is that we want to use the law effectively and as much as we can, so that everybody who breaks the law will face the consequences.
It's been a pleasure having you, PS. We hope that this move by the ministry will benefit both Eswatini as well as the farmers.
So much more to uncover as we return from the ad break in looking at the market indices today with Sanela Sibia. Don't go anywhere.
Do you pay your TV license and are up to date with your payments? If not, here is your chance. If you own a TV set, a decoder, or a set-top box and you voluntarily declare, the TV license fees will not be backdated and you will only be required to pay for the 2024 TV license fee. On top of that, you will also avoid paying the 50% penalty fee. This offer is valid until the 30th of September 2024. However, if you pay before the last day of this year's trade fair, you stand a chance to win awesome prizes. The draw will be conducted on the last day of the trade fair, the 8th of September 2024. Take advantage of this leniency period. It's not too late to make the right choice. Pay your TV license and be a compliant citizen. Pay your TV license through any of these TV license pay points, MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, Eswatini Post Office, and our NetBank account. When you make payment for your TV license, always remember to reference with your personal identity number.
Twenty minutes after 2, you have stayed with us for 20 minutes. Thank you very kindly. Welcome to the Markets Update. Let's dissect today's financial pulse across global markets. In the U.S., that is where we want to start. Major indices saw gains with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 1.14% and the Nasdaq Composite leading with a 1.47% increase. However, European markets showed mixed results with the FTSE 100 rising modestly while the DAX fell. Now, in Asia, the Hang Seng Index gained 1.06%, contrasting with declines in the Nikkei. Back home, South African markets saw minimal movement and commodities like gold and Brent crude both experienced positive shifts. Let's delve into these numbers and trends with economist Sanele Sibiya, who joins us now virtually. Sanele, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program as always. Let's start in the U.S. markets. We are seeing the Dow Jones Industrial Average, Nasdaq Composite, and the S&P 500 all posted notable gains today. What are the key factors driving this positive performance in the U.S. markets?
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Numero, and good afternoon to the viewer. So basically, in the US, the whole story is just one word. I'd say Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve Bank. On Friday, at Jackson Hole, there was that Fed conference, and he actually said it was go time. He said it was time to start pondering on cutting down the interest rate. So now that was a very huge shift from we are not going to renege on the interest rate cut until inflation is under control to now it's time. So markets actually rallied against that on Friday, and still even today they're still rallying on that to really show that markets have been waiting for a soft landing regime for the longest time, and now that one is imminent. Is happening in September, whether you like it or not. So now it's an issue of the numbers. How much are we going to see the change? How much the cut is going to be? And markets really rallied to that, such that even today that rally is continuing. And we are waiting, to get some more inflation data to come out this week. But now that's not likely to alter market sentiments, but the only thing it would alter now is the fact that whether we're going to see a 25% basis point cut or a 50% basis point cut. It's now going to be an issue of the numbers, but the market's already braced for a cut come September, so that's what we are seeing happening. We are also waiting for AI favorite, NVIDIA is also going to be posting their results. So markets are still quite optimistic to see how that AI train is whether it's gaining momentum, whether it's showing results, or whether the AI pact is performing as one would have expected it. As markets had actually really backed this move, and we are now hoping to see if it's going to pay off, and also if it is also going to start bringing a tangible result into the markets, Mr. Nwando. So that's what we are seeing in the US.
Yeah, I myself am really excited to see those results with NVIDIA. European markets, Sibiya, we're seeing mixed day for European indices with the FTSE 100 increasing slightly and the DAX declining. What are the underlying reasons for these contrasting movements?
So what we are seeing in Europe, yes, we are expecting, we did expect Powell's announcement to play into markets, and it did on Friday and earlier in the early part of today's trading session. So it did impact the European markets. But one thing remains in Germany is the fact that we are still seeing Germany still struggling with giving markets a clearer growth path in terms of where the growth is going to come from, within the German economy. So that's one of the things that we are seeing, whether Germany is going to come out of this stagnation that it has been in. And that has resulted in a situation where, business confidence or business sentiment is actually really, really low. And as a result, we are waiting to see retail data come out this week and also employment data come out this week in Germany. So I think that is now what is weighing heavily on the German market, just waiting to see if the Bundes economy is actually going to come out of that stagnation spiral, and also if they are going to posit some new sources of growth. But when you're looking into the overall Euro region, you can see that France is really now slowly but surely edging closer to, the all-time highs that we've seen today. They're sitting around 7,589 euro francs. So that comes with that adjustment and, post the elections, as a clearer political path is being charted within France, then we are going to see the markets also try to respond very well. London is still maintaining that relatively high level of 8.3 within the FTSE. And then that again is actually buoyed by the fact that we are seeing those changes in the US, and a relatively weaker dollar is just also playing towards the favor in London, Mr. Nzuma. Thank you.
Interesting indeed. Over in Asia, Hang Seng Index showed a positive trend. Now, all of this is happening while the Nikkei experiences a decline. What is influencing these divergent trends in Asia?
So in Asia, what we are seeing, if you look into mainland China, we've seen the Chinese government utilizing their monetary policy instruments to inject a bit of more liquidity in the market, either through rolling over loans that were there and actually through the process of injecting more liquidity into the market. So that's basically aimed at gearing and at actually bolstering the Chinese economy to start growing, because it's one of those economies that are still struggling to find a clearer growth path and a clearer source of growth, where that growth is going to come from. They're still battling with that housing crisis there, where there's a lot of houses on the market and there's just no buyers. So we're seeing those efforts come out to play, and markets are somewhat are responding to that. But when you come into Japan, what you are seeing there is a contrasting picture, where Japan has simply just moved out from a negative interest rate territory to a positive interest rate territory. So now the news of a cut in the US, markets may take that as mixed signal, and they want to see where Japan is actually going to eventually intersect with the rest of the world. So now the monetary instruments of the globe are somehow looking towards, other centers where there is a bit of concordance in terms of the whole world is going down. So I think what is happening in Japan today was just purely an issue of those basics, basic misunderstanding when we are talking of an increase in the interest rate in Japan, when the whole world is looking at a decrease in the interest rate. So notwithstanding the fact that Japan has been in negative interest rate territory for the past decade, and they're only just trying to normalize by moving into positive interest rate territory, and hopefully they will meet somewhere in the middle with the rest of the world when the whole normalization situation is done, Mr. Nzuma.
We have a minute and a few seconds, but I do want us to touch on South African markets. The JSE All Share Index had a marginal increase. What should investors take away from this minimal movement? But I also want you to also chime into commodities, where we're seeing gold and Brent crude seeing gains today, as well as our currencies today. If you can just wrap it all up in one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nzuma. So what we are seeing there at JSE is the fact that the markets are actually also responding positively to the news of the interest rate cuts in the US. And this comes within the release of inflation data for South Africa last week, which was also in the favorable. So markets are also now bracing for interest rate cut in September in the region, and also even within the domestic economy in Eswatini. Then when we come into commodities, what we are seeing there at the end of the day is the fact that gold continues to hold a bit higher, but we do expect that that trend to start reversing as we enter into September and we get closer to the rate cut, because now we are going to see how the soft lending environment is going to alter equities, and if equities do gain, then we do expect them to chip something away from gold. And then in terms of Brent crude oil, we're seeing it getting back to the region of 80, purely because the Middle East escalation continues to be a bit tighter day by day. We're seeing threats coming from Hezbollah, we're seeing threats coming from Israel, we're seeing seeing Iran joining the fray. So that fragility in the Middle East now continues to push the price of Brent crude up, including also the fact that the interest rates might go down and make relatively making demand improving on demand. And then when we are seeing on the currency front, what we're seeing is a very strong domestic currency at 17.72 against the dollar and at 19.81 against the euro. So now this is all fueled by the positive prospects and a relatively weaker dollar in the global economy. While we're seeing the Japanese yen gaining a bit, on the background of the efforts that the Bank of Japan is doing to actually prop up the price of the yen. Thank you,
Mr. Spear, thank you kindly for staying with us on the program today. Really, really interesting insights there for people that want to invest and people that are running their businesses as trade investments. This is the end of the program. Thank you so much for staying with us on the show. We hope that you will enjoy other programs by Eswatini TV today. Have a fantastic week. Salia.